Hi, I'm Josh, and welcome to a brand new series on the channel, What If Scenarios. Basically, this is going to be like changing real time and making an alternate timeline of events for music stuff. I got the idea from this guy called Cover Killer Nation. He used to do it back in the day, but he's retired now from YouTube. And also a little bit of this guy called Star Wars Theory, who used to play with sort of events in Star Wars and sort of add an alternate timeline, sort of like a fanfic really. But this is going to be a fanfic for music, and this first one is going to be what if Alex Skolnick joined Megadeth in 1989. Now, Alex Skolnick is the guitar player for Testament and has always been the Testament guitar player, apart from when he left the band in the 90s. But be cool just to see what would happen. Personally, I don't think it would have happened, just to put that straight. I don't think he would have actually ever joined Megadeth, but it's just a cool sort of thing to see what could have happened if he did. So yeah, sub if you're new, and check out the playlists and share with anybody you think would like this content. And let's get into this. Well, I'm first going to start off with the original timeline, what happened in real life, if you don't know. Marty Friedman joined Megadeth in 1990 after leaving his band Cacophony in 1989. And he was in the band for 10 years and released 5 albums before leaving in 2000. He also released 3 solo albums during this time, with Nick Menza on drums, who was also in the band at the time. Since he left, he's released several solo albums of his own and collaborated with quite a few musicians. And Testament have been a band since '82, I believe, have released quite a few albums. And during that time in '89-90, they released Practice What You Preach after previously touring with Megadeth the year before. And after that, they went on to release Souls of Black and The Ritual in 1990 and 92. Alex left not long after that in order to play different styles of music, and then he rejoined the band in 2005, and he's still in the band today, and they've released another 4 albums since then. Right, now let's get into our new alternate timeline. In 1989, Dave Mustaine fires Chuck Beeler and Jeff Young from the band. Former drum tech Nick Menza is now appointed as the new drummer, and now they're looking for a new guitar player. Testament have just released Practice What You Preach and are going to start touring very, very soon. Megadeth would contact Alex about the possibility of him becoming their new lead guitar player. Dave probably would have told him about their time on tour in '88 and how mesmerised he was by his guitar playing. Alex probably would say he'd consider it, but he had massive commitments in Testament at the time after just releasing the new album, and they planned on go out on tour for 8 months. Dave would ask him to jam with the band just before they go on tour, just to try and see how he feels about it. He accepts and flies to their studio to prematurely audition for the band. The sessions would go pretty well. Dave would tell Alex that he's the best guitar player he's ever played with, and he's got to join the band right now. But not long after this, Dave Mustaine would go into drug rehab, which basically inclines Skolnick to want to go back to Testament and tour their new album. 1990, while on tour, Alex starts to think about the possibility of playing in Megadeth. With Testament starting to become unsure of what they want to sound like moving forward, he sees Megadeth have a certain style and sound, and Dave knows exactly what He knows exactly what he wants the band to be. He also sees that Dave has come out of rehab and has become a much better person to work with and be around. So he thinks, maybe I do want to join them. So I think halfway through the tour, he would go and see Megadeth again and ask to join the band when the tour with Testament is over. They would gladly accept this offer and then begin work on their new album. This would leave the rest of the Testament quite confused when they find out that their lead guitarist will leave the band at the end of the tour. With themselves wanting to make a new album as well, I think they would have a few months to audition a replacement, possibly including the likes of Andreas Kisser from Sepultura, Nuno Bettencourt from Extreme, Jakey Lee from his just formed band Badlands, Phil DeMille from Violence, and Dimebag Darrell from Pantera. But none of these would really fit. None of these would really suit the style, what they want. Until after leaving his old band Cacophony and just releasing his debut solo album, Marty Friedman would audition for the band, knowing that there's a position there for him. And he would fit perfectly to replace Skolnick because of his ability and the way he plays. And he would eventually join the band and they would begin working on the follow-up to Practice What You Preach. Shortly after this, Testament released Soul of Black, with Megadeth releasing Rust in Peace as well around the same time. Marty and Alex's influences on these albums would be relatively small due to them not being in the band that long and most of the songs being written before they were even in the band at the time. So they would roughly sound similar to what they do in real life. Obviously the solos would be different because of how Marty and Alex play. They play slightly different to each other, slightly different influences and styles. But yeah, 1992, Megadeth would release Countdown to Extinction and Testament would release The Ritual, both to rival Metallica's self-titled massive album, the Black Album. I think on these records you would hear more influence of Marty and Alex's styles. Both to differing results though. I believe The Ritual would sound a lot more like Countdown to Extinction now with Marty, and vice versa with Alex in Megadeth. Although I still think that Countdown would be a lot more popular than The Ritual, even though the guitarists are the other way around, but I still think that. And Marty would still release his solo album Scenes in 92, but this time with Louis Clemente on drums instead of Nick Menza. 1994, Testament would release the groove and death metal sounding Low, and Megadeth would release the hard rock and sort of traditional heavy metal feel album Euthanasia. But at this point in real life, this was where Alex left Testament and Marty Friedman wanted Megadeth to incorporate other styles of music into their sound. So I think Dave would try to convince Alex that he would change their sound to suit what he wanted, but only for this one album. And I think Skolnick would accept this, but then decide to leave when the album and tour was finished. I think the album would sound a lot like The Ritual's deeper cuts, but with elements of Euthanasia in there. So maybe A Tout Le Monde would probably still be the same, and certain songs like that would still sound the same. But I think there'd be elements of blues, jazz, progressive music, all sorts in there as well. And the old school Megadeth fans would not like this album at all, and they would probably be alright with Alex deciding to leave. And I think Marty and Eric in Testament would have a lot of conflict during the making of Low. Eric would want to move down more of a extreme metal path, with Marty wanting to add catchy choruses and more of a mainstream sound. I think they would compromise and almost pioneer the beginning of alternate metal and alternative metal and metalcore, with some heavy breakdowns and death metal riffs along with Euthanasia style choruses and melodies. Because Chuck Billy can sing like that anyway, I don't think that would be an issue to him singing like that. 1996 now, and this is where I think Marty will leave the band just before they begin working on Demonic, with Peterson wanting to take the death metal path even more, distancing away from the mainstream sound. And I think Marty would want to go even more down that sound to try and find the perfect blend of heavy aggressiveness with melody, which is what he originally wanted for Megadeth in real life. But yeah, Eric wouldn't want to do that, leaving Marty no choice but to quit. And I think Marty still releases his solo albums Introduction and True Obsessions during 94 and 96, like he did. But again, with Clemente on drums, who probably wouldn't be in the band at this point as well. Megadeth would revert back to their thrash and heavy metal sounds, and they would appoint the vacant Gary Holt from Exodus to replace Alex Skolnick, and they would release several albums together. I think Cryptic Writings would sound a lot like sort of Rust in Peace, Countdown, but with a bit of elements of Exodus in there. And then I think they would release maybe another 1 or 2 albums. Testament would appoint James Murphy, formerly of Death and Obituary, to replace Marty Friedman on lead guitar and go down the death metal route like they did in real life with Demonic and The Gathering. Marty would go on to do his solo career and have a great career in Japan, just like in real life. Alex would go on to form his jazz band called the Alex Skolnick Trio, like he done in real life, and he still has the band today, and carry on learning and writing in different styles of music. I think when asked to reunite with Testament in 2001 to re-record their early albums, I think he would accept and he would enjoy playing with his old bandmates again. And just like in real life, he would rejoin the band in 2005 for their great comeback with the classic lineup. In 2002, Mustaine breaks up Megadeth due to his arm injury. I think Gary Holt leaves the band and decides to reform Exodus like he did in real life in 2004. When Dave had recovered and is able to play guitar again, he reforms the band in 2005 and appoints Glenn Drover on lead guitar, and he'd be in the band till he quit in 2007. So around 2008, I think Megadeth would be looking for a new guitarist again. I think Dave would ask Alex to rejoin, and Alex, I think he would decline this by saying, I'm in a great position with Testament right now, with my old mates. Why would I want to leave them again? And yeah, he would walk away. After this, I think that the timeline would play out like in real life, with Megadeth appointing Chris Broderick on lead guitar and then Kiko Loureiro in 2015, releasing 4 albums up till now. And Testament would also release 4 albums with their brand new awesome lineup of Chuck Billy, Eric Peterson, Alex Skolnick, Gene Hoglan and Steve DiGiorgio. I just want to add a little bit more on the guitarists really. Alex Skolnick and Marty Friedman are both incredible guitarists. 2 of the best guitarists ever. Alex, for me, is the best thrash metal guitarist, but it's really hard to pick. I don't really count Marty as a thrash metal guitarist, not really. Even though I love his work in Megadeth and his solo albums are really, really cool. Inferno and Wall of Sound are brilliant. Alex's work in Testament has always been brilliant, absolutely fantastic, and their styles and influences are really inspiring on myself as a guitarist, and really interesting as well. The way they use their different styles and influences in metal music is really, really cool. So that's this video. It's just a little sort of fun thing to see what on, you know, it's just a fun little play on what happens in real life. It's a bit like a fanfic sort of thing. It was really fun writing. It really was. And I was thinking about having Marty rejoin Megadeth, well, join Megadeth in the future, like in 2006 or something. But I thought it'd be a bit too obvious, really, to have Marty, and they would basically write cryptic writings as they did in real life, and I wouldn't have thought that would have been right, really, to just have everything what happened in real life. And yeah, I didn't want to go too much into detail about everything because we would have been here all day. So I just wanted to keep it as sort of as tight and as sort of straight to the point as possible, and not put tons of backstory and detail into all this. And I'm really hoping to do some more of these videos in the future. I've got loads of ideas for what if scenarios, so obviously they'll only get better as they go along. And I hope you really enjoyed this video. I'll see you again in the next one. Keep it metal.